Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and here, by popular demand, is Solti in Europe. I love this series. It's kind of like, the Iphigenias. Iphigenia in Brooklyn, Iphigenia in Aulis, Iphigenia in Taurus. Iphigenia got around. Well, so did Solti. Well, this box contains 44 CDs plus 2 DVDs. It actually has they figured out to put like a little ledge here so you can lift the top of it off a little better. Yeah, well, maybe. Does it help? Not really. Okay. But, the best in this series, they've done so far Solti in Chicago and Solti in London, his major forces or bases of operation. There we go. And now Solti is in Europe. The best box of all this series is certainly the Solti in London. And as we know, London is no longer part of Europe. London is simply a colony, and not even a terribly significant colony, of the planet Baxia. And, the Baxians have been enjoying their sovereignty over London now for the past couple of years. Anyway, but Solti did hang out in Europe, and this is divided up rather weirdly into territories. Switzerland, Hungary, and Austria, because as we know, that's still one one empire. Let's see, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Israel, and then there's Solti in Europe, a memoir. Who cares? And DVDs. The DVDs are the Mozart Requiem and Bartok, Beethoven, and Rossini, the United Nations 50th anniversary concert. I couldn't care less about either. So anyway, here we have the box, and we're going to go through it as we always do. I think, there's a booklet, but we also get some original jackets. And Solti originally showed up as a pianist, not even as a conductor. There he is pianicizing, and on original jackets. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, these are nice. It's just nice to have original jackets. And there's this one there. Doesn't he look appealing? Oh, yes. It's kind of like Bela Lugosi does, conducting things. All right, so let's see what we have here. Well, we've got a work list and a track list. Okay, here is the track list. Goodness gracious. I mean, it's kind of interesting, some of this stuff, and some of it isn't. All right. Number 1, we have the Brahms violin sonatas with Georg Kuhlenkampf, and this is actually these are good. They're pretty good. I mean, Solti was actually a very good pianist. He never quite lost his chops either. So it's fun to hear him in chamber music, and that's good. So Schubert, we have a couple songs from Schwanengesang with Max Lichtegg, or whatever his name is, and Mozart's Violin Sonata, again with Georg Kuhlenkampf, Violin Sonata number 32, Kochel 454, and Beethoven's Kreutzer Sonata, and then there's the Egmont Overture with the Tone Hollow Orchestra of Zurich. These are early, 1947, 1950. These are Solti's earliest recordings. He was in Switzerland after the war for quite a period. He was a refugee. He's Jewish, so he had to get out of the German-speaking territories in Hungary. So he wound up in Switzerland, and that's where he sort of got his career going. After the war, immediately after the war, he was appointed music director of the opera in Munich with the support of Richard Strauss, actually. And so that's how we got like that recording of Arabella and whatnot from that period in his career in the 50s. So now we have, the William Tell Overture, Bartok's Concerto for Orchestra, and Beethoven Bits of Fidelio with the World Orchestra for Peace. Oh, yeah, that's from 1995 with the World Orchestra for Peace. And, he recorded all of this stuff a million times besides. So, the William Tell Overture, who cares? It's nice. I love the William Tell Overture, but Solti's version of it, isn't going to, sort of set any world records. And the Bartok Concerto for Orchestra recorded beautifully with the LSO, and then again in Chicago. And so this one is wholly unnecessary. And the Fidelio excerpts are like Fidelio excerpts. Then we've got the Mahler 5, that came from Swiss radio from 1997 with the Tonhalle in Zurich. I remember this. This was a totally uninteresting performance. His Chicago one is so much better. He did it twice in Chicago, too. There was a Chicago digital one, if I'm not mistaken. But his first Chicago recording is a wonderful Mahler 5. It really is, and that's the one to get. And it sounds the best, too. Then we've got more Bartók, Leo Weiner, and Kodai, Salmos Hungaricus, and the Bartók Cantata Profana, and Weiner's Serenade for Small Orchestra with the Budapest Festival Orchestra. We all know them, don't we? Exactly. This is also late from 97. I mean, these are nice to have. They're nice to have. Solti was always good as a conductor of choral music, opera, theatrical stuff, where he was an accompanist. I hate to say it. Rather than being center stage as a symphonic conductor, where I think he was always a little bit out of his element. Not that he didn't do some good things, of course he did, but, generally speaking. So that's nice to have. Then we've got an Eroica. Oh, yeah, these are he's now in Vienna. Must be in Austria and Hungary. These early Beethovens, the Eroica, the Fifth Symphony, and let's see what else. These are from 58. And the Seventh Symphony. These are really good performances. They really are. I mean, they have the Vienna Philharmonic is playing splendidly for him, and they are driven like everything Solti has. That is, people who don't like him call him brutal, and people who do call him exciting. I think these are exciting. I really do. They're just really solid. It was a wonderful, initial melding of personalities. He was working on The Ring at the same time. He was about to do Das Rheingold, I think, in 58, somewhere in there. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a freshness to these performances that he never quite duplicated in his multiple later versions, of which there are several, 3 or 4 of some of these things, 2 or 3, who knows. But this is good. This is really good stuff. Soupe Overtures, 1, 2, 3, 4, CD9. Only 4 Soupe Overtures on CD9. That's a short CD. 30 minutes and 2 seconds of Soupe. Well, that's probably about all you ever need of Soupe, although they're wonderful pieces, aren't they? Tchaikovsky First Piano Concerto with Clifford Curzon. Something of a classic version. It's all there is on CD10. And it's very nice. It's a very nice performance. Wagner. This is earlier Wagner, because he made a dreadful Wagner disc in Vienna, which really shocked me, but it was later. This one's got Rienzi, Flying Dutchman, and the Tannhäuser Overture, and Bacchanal from 62. So that's good stuff. And he did a wonderful Tannhäuser. Remember, his recording of Tannhäuser is really still the reference version of it. It's fabulous. Bruckner 7 with the Wagner Siegfried Piddle. Yeah, the Siegfried Idyll here with just 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Here we see Solti in his tendency to take slow music too slowly and fast music kind of brutally. Well, the Bruckner 7th is okay. It's nice. It's Vienna. I mean, they know it. He knew it. It's all right. It's not like thrillingly special. And the Siegfried Idyll is as it usually is. Bruckner 8. Oh, this was a symphony he never quite got his fangs around, or talons, or whatever you want to call them. Again, it's not terrible. It's not special. The finale is it's quick, which is okay, but it just seems like he's skating over the surface of the piece much of the time. He doesn't seem to have a grip on what matters where, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Yeah. Schumann. This is the Schumann cycle with the Vienna Phil from 1970. These are really good. This is a very, very fine Schumann cycle. No one pays any attention to it. But there are lots of good Schumann cycles with Vienna Phil. Of course, Bernstein did a fabulous one. And who did? Riccardo Muti did a wonderful Schumann cycle. And Dochnani did a terrific Schumann cycle. Aren't they all with Vienna or something? It's like unbelievable. And this one, too, is first class. It really is. You'd be surprised. I mean, it's not... if I told you it was Solti, you would go, really? That's Solti doing that? And it's like, yeah, it's marvelous. Then we've got the Verdi Requiem with Joan Sutherland, Marilyn Horne, Pavarotti, Marty Talvola, Wiener Phil. Oh, it's one of the great Verdi Requiems. Who are we kidding? It's just terrific. Ein Heldenleben with the Wiener Philharmoniker. Well, it's a good Heldenleben. It's fast and furious and completely lacking in any pretense to philosophical depth, which means that it's tolerable. So that's good. Schubert, Symphony 5 and 8. So-so. Schubert was not one of Solti's specialties, and here is the Schubert Ninth, which is one of the most horrible Schubert Ninths ever in the history of humanity. How he gets away with this, I don't know, a 13-minute first movement, a 15-minute finale, which means it has all the repeats, not the point. The point is he does the diminuendo at the end. Ugh. Wrong. Terrible. It's a totally mindless performance of Schubert's Ninth. Really, they're just going through the motions and playing the notes. And here's the horrible Wagner one from 1983. You've got the Ride of the Valkyries, the Entry of the Gods into Valhalla, Wotan's Farewell, the Siegfried Forest Murmurs, Siegfried's Funeral March concert version, and the Götterdämmerung immolation scene finale. Something went wrong here. I don't know what, but it was just as flat. I remember when this came out, I was in college, and we were all looking sort of like, oh yeah, it's Solti, it's Vienna. I mean, he'd been doing operas there. That's what he did, the Wagner operas, most of them, and so we thought, gee, it's got to be good, and it was dreadful. Oh wow, just flat-footed and again, just going through the motions of something not happening there. Brahms, Piano Concerto No. 1 with Andras Schiff, and the Schumann variations with Andras Schiff. Oh, and Solti, because it's piano four hands. Well, that's interesting. The first piano concerto is okay, but Schiff is not the most fiery and passionate of soloists, and Solti always does good Brahms. I mean, the accompaniments are all right, but it's not going to write yet. I mean, there's great stuff there, so let's look. Oh, Solti with Kyrie Tikhonova. Why? Who cares? All right. Strauss, Four Last Songs. That's why. With Kyrie Tikhonova and all these other Strauss songs with Solti at the piano. People loved this version. But Kyrie Tikhonova, remember, she did him twice. First was with Andrew Davis, and that was the one that everybody really liked better than this one. And it was better. She was in better voice. And, it's okay. But no one's favorite Four Last Songs either. The Mozart, Great Mass in C minor, with Elizabeth Norberg Schultz and Anna Sophie von Otter and Uwe Heilmann and Renee Papa. And it's good. It's good. It's good. What am I going to say? It's good. It's okay. Mozart Requiem, Arlene Auger, Cecilia Bartoli, Vincent Cole, Renee Papa again, Vienna Phil. I mean, Solti always did good choral works, even in Chicago. I mean, his Haydn Seasons in Creation and Handel Messiah, and he did some Bach stuff and the Damnation of Faust, and of course Moses and Aaron, and those were his finest efforts by and large, I think. But oh, Shostakovich Symphony No. 9, Beethoven 5, bleh, just not. He was doing these weird recordings at the end of his career. He was. There were rumors that he was threatening to do Sibelius and Nielsen, and the Decca was sort of happy when he never made it that far, because by then it was just becoming, the discography was just so voluminous, and he had run out of ideas, more or less. To do Beethoven 5 and Shostakovich 9, they're live. Well, the Beethoven is live, and it's nowhere as good as his earlier one, and the Shostakovich is totally irrelevant, and he never had much of a feel for Shostakovich's music. He recorded a couple of the symphonies. He did an eighth that was a non-happening. And, it's very funny. You can be fast and loud, which he usually was, and still be totally uninteresting. Solti achieved that. I guess that's an achievement. Mendelssohn, Italian Symphony, Shostakovich 5. These also were remakes. The Shostakovich I don't think was a remake. But no. Nothing, not a patch on his previous stuff. And repertoire that the Vienna Phil, Lee Shostakovich, did not find as congenial as, for example, Mendelssohn, which they did fabulously with Doch Nani. That's the one to get. So, CD28 is, let's see, Kodai, Peacock Variations, Boris Blacher, Paganini Variations, Elgar's Enigma Variations, all with the Vienna Phil. This was strange. I mean, the Kodai is good. You'd expect. The Blacher is a fun piece. That's okay. The Enigma Variations, not so much. Then we've got, let's see, now he's in Berlin. So you've got Night on Bald Mountain, Prince Igor Overture, Ruslan and Ludmila Overture, and Chovanshchina Introduction and Dance of the Persian Slave Mules from 1971. I remember hearing this and thinking, gee, it's kind of flat-footed comparatively. And he recorded some of this stuff before as well. No reason to do it again. Mozart, piano quartets with him at the piano, and with the Mellows Quartet people. It's good. It's not special, but it's good. Mozart Symphonies, 4041, with the Chamber Orchestra of Europe. I mean, so much of this stuff is just irrelevant now. It really is. There's so many wonderful Mozart 40s and 41. There's nothing wrong with this, but again, there's nothing special about it. Solti was not the kind of conductor when, he could be exciting and impactful and all of that stuff, but he was not the kind of conductor who you could listen to and say, well, these guys really putting a personal stamp on the music, especially in the classical repertoires, Haydn and Mozart, both of which were rather dull, unless it was like the Requiem or choral works or an oratorio. Then he sort of caught fire. All right, Strauss, Alpine Symphony with the Bavarian Radio Symphony, one of the great ones. Reference recording, that and what is it? Kazimier's what is it? Chord on CD Accord with the Polish orchestra there. These are the two great Alpine symphonies, or two or three great Alpine symphonies. I mean, there's Yarvi too, was really good, and some other ones. But boy, oh boy, this is exciting. It's exciting and fabulous, and he seemed to be very happy to be back in Munich, where he got started, and they play like crazy, and the sonics are marvelous. It's just thrilling, and it's fast. Thank God it's fast. It's just great. Zarathustra, Till Eulenspiegel, Salome's Dance with the Berliner Philharmoniker. Okay, not special. Beethoven, Mrs. Solemnis with the Berlin Phil, and Julia Varady, Iris Vermilion, Vincent Cole, Rene Papa. It's okay. You see, I keep saying this, don't I? Okay, so, nice. Yeah, okay, yeah, good, okay, get it? It's okay. Okay? What can I tell you? France, the Tchaikovsky Little Russian with the Paris Conservatoire Orchestra, a 31-minute CD. They are really pushing it. They could have condensed all of this stuff into, probably 10 fewer CDs. Of course, you might not have the geographical separation, which makes all the difference here. But, I always love hearing the Paris Conservatoire. Tchaik 5 with the Paris Conservatoire. These are from the early 50s. The sound is kind of papery. The playing is kind of, Paris Conservatory, French style. I think these are fun, but, great. Well, no. And then the Orchestre de Paris doing Liszt tone poems. Tasso, 2 episodes from Faust. The Mephisto Waltz and that's all they did. They didn't do the Nocturnal Procession or whatever that thing is. And then From the Cradle to the Grave. All right. I mean, these are fun. It's with the Orchestre de Paris. Mahler 4 with the Concertgebouw, Sylvia Stallman. Some people like that. I think it's a very, very blustery and strange sounding recording. I mean, like there's no trumpet in the first movement at the climaxes. The trumpet has a tune. Ba ba da 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 dum da 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 dum. Right? Not there. Just can't hear it. Can't hear it. Everything's buried. It goes to show what I think was one of Scholti's biggest faults was that, in spite of being fast and loud, he wasn't into orchestral balance. He hated percussion, for example. You never hear percussion quite often. Sometimes you hear nothing but brass. You don't hear woodwinds. There was just a lack of care in a lot of his performances. And you hear it in this Mahler Fourth with an orchestra that was magnificent. Mahler, of course, as we know. Then we've got this Das Lied von der Erde with Mariana Lepolchek and Thomas Moser with the Concertgebouw. This was live. It's lousy. I mean, it's just lousy. And I love Lepolchek. She's a wonderful singer, but this is not good. Not good at all. The sonics aren't good. The interpretation is flat and blustery by turn. I was very, very disappointed by that. And the live recording doesn't help it. It really doesn't. Then we've got more Shostakovich and weird stuff. Shostakovich 1 and Stravinsky, Rite of Spring. Well, this Rite of Spring is famous for also having some goof ups, some real mistakes by the orchestra in various spots. And the famous Scholti Rite of Spring story from Carnegie Hall where they got lost in the middle of it. Interesting. His Chicago recording is his best one, if you want The Rite of Spring with Solti, and it's not bad. The Shostakovich First is totally uninteresting and irrelevant. CD 41, we have Rossini, La Boutique Fantasque, and Dukas, Sorcerer's Apprentice with the Israel Phil from 58. Whoa. It's again, it's a memento of Solti. Is it great performances of these works? No. The Israel Phil in 58 was like everybody in the 50s, it seemed, in Europe, which was the Israel Phil. I guess it was in Europe, sort of, kind of. They were rebuilding or building or doing whatever they're doing. They were not great either. And then we had Mendelssohn and Schubert, the Italian Symphony, again, Schubert's 5, again, with the Israel Phil from 59. Well, these are better than his later ones. I mean, they're just straightforward, no-nonsense performances. The Tchaikovsky Serenade for Strings and Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik with the Israel Phil. Again, they're perfectly fine. And then the rest are this memoir thing with John Tolansky and the 2 DVDs. That's what's in here. Do I sound lukewarm? Well, yeah, I am lukewarm because, there are some splendid things in here, really splendid things. I mean, the early Beethovens are great. That Alpine Symphony is great. Some of the stuff, the chamber works, are interesting to hear Solti at the piano. But boy, considering that this is 44 CDs, probably 34 of them, the majority of them are quite dispensable, I think. I really do. I mean, evidently, Europe wasn't as congenial to Solti as some other places. But no, where he's good, it's almost always where he's done the same music elsewhere. Where he's done the same music elsewhere and better. It's just really, really kind of unnecessary. That's my conclusion. I have to confess. I just can't get too excited about this box. Maybe you'll feel differently. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.